Hello everyone and welcome to the Hope Collective. Today we're doing another pick a card and I'm starting with the Frequency Tarot deck to pull out some significator cards to indicate each of our piles. Shuffling that now. As you know, if you've been here before, Spirit tends to get pretty long-winded with me. So if you come back for pile 2 or pile 3, you might see me on a different background if they end up getting filmed on a different day and released as a different video. Okay, so we have pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. Pile 1, we have number 75, Transcendence. Wow. Love that. Pile 2, we have number 66, The Selves. That is pretty cool. And for pile 3, is this in reverse, Spirit? Yes. Okay, so we have the Uplift frequency number 65. Pretty interesting that that's right before number 66, but it did come out in reverse. Maybe some of you are needing some upliftment. I guess we'll find out when we film pile 3. So thank you for joining me today. Take your time picking your pile, and I will see you at your group. You can use the timestamps below, or if I have filmed these as separate piles, you'll find links below once each video is posted. Hello everyone and welcome to pile 1. This is your pile if you chose the Transcendence card from the Frequency Tarot, number 75. I get such an amazing vibration off this card. So the first thing I'm going to do is check and see what the guidebook for the Frequency Tarot has to tell us about it. What messages do you have for us today, Frequency Tarot? Number 75. If you have drawn this card upright, you're being called to rise from struggles and limitations like a phoenix out of the ash. But to do that, you must allow yourself to become ash. How many times have you sat safely within the narrow confines of your life, comfortable in your current thoughts, beliefs, and expectations? Then, out of the blue, something quote-unquote shocking happens that completely destroys your picture of peace and harmony. It blows your mind or throws you for a loop. There is a sudden realization that your comfort was based on an inadequate foundation of false thought, belief, and action. This is a humbling, frightening, but necessary experience. This is an experience that shakes the foundation of your current sense of security and or forces you to question your strongly held beliefs, perceptions, attitudes, and behaviors. It is likely to bring chaos in its wake. If you have drawn this card, ask yourself, what structures in my life are breaking up? No doubt you will already be very aware of where there is turmoil and destruction, but sometimes it can be on a more subtle or subconscious level. With any destruction, there comes creation. Truth and honesty has come like a bolt of lightning through your current experience in order to cause you to grow past your present level. If you have drawn this card, you are being called towards a major shift in consciousness. Practice non-attachment. If things are falling apart, let them fall apart. Build something entirely new from the ashes of what remains. Wow. So I'm really looking forward to finding out what it is that this pile is experiencing such a major shift in, what is falling apart, guidance for building the new. I'm definitely already getting a strong sense from this group that the emphasis from Spirit for this group right now is on guidance for allowing the old to fall apart rather than guidance for how to build the new and what to focus on in that regard. But we're going to find out if I'm on point there and what more specifically Spirit has to say there. We're going to start with the Spirit Song Tarot. I also have this niggling inclination to check what the description for this transcendence frequency painting is on the website of the artist. So I'm going to pause the recording and look that up because that might provide us some insight as well. The artist who paints these has descriptions of the vibration, the frequency that she's painting, and then crafted different messages based on that for the guidebook for the tarot deck. And I'm getting a strong feeling from Spirit that there is a message for us in the actual painting descriptions. So I'm going to pause the video and be right back. Thank you for bearing with me, folks. I also, while I had the video paused, changed where my camera is positioned so that it's closer to this tabletop countertop space, because I noticed that my camera was having trouble focusing on the images of the cards from so far away with the setup I had going before, and I didn't want that to get frustrating for you to be looking at blurry cards. So we're zoomed in much closer now. There will be room for fewer cards on the screen, but that's okay. That's the price we pay for clarity. And speaking of clarity, on the website of the painter, Teal Swan, sorry, there's a Christmas jingle alarm going off there. This one might be a little longer than the other ones that have gone off. I forgot to expect this to happen at the turn of the hour. It's turning 3 o'clock if that number is significant for any of you. 75 also reduces down to 12 in numerology, which then reduces down to 3. Sometimes 12 is used as a mastery number of its own, as a number of very sealed in completion. But a lot of times people do reduce it down to 3, and it is 3 o'clock where I am now, so that might be significant for some of you. Empress energy there as well, with the Empress being the 3 in the tarot. Abundance, fertility, beauty, groundedness. It's interesting also with disruptions like that and the pausing the video, the camera change, my coughing earlier. I've had this sort of nagging voice, not nagging, but just an insecurity speaking to me going, are you sure we don't want to record this and re-record this, excuse me. And Spirit keeps saying, no, actually, it's really important that you roll with this and be authentic and be transmuted and transformed along with the viewers with this one. So I'm taking Spirit at its word, and we are along for the ride today. The Transcendence painting is on tealswan.com/paintings. Teal Swan, a teal like the color, swan like the bird, is the artist who paints these frequency paintings. And she has hundreds of them because she's been doing them for years. And on her website, she has like prints and merch. I'm not paid to advertise for her at all. But if that was something you were interested in, you could also get this tarot deck there. Because I know a lot of times when I'm watching pick of cards, I'm interested in where people got their decks. And you can also view similar frequency paintings and descriptions of them and what purpose they serve, because the whole point of the frequency paintings is that by meditating on and in training to the vibration that is embodied in the painting, you can use it as like almost a homeopathic treatment for yourself. So if we need this transcendence vibration, I figured it's useful for us to know more about that vibration as well as knowing what the tarot guidebook says, since that's a different message. So the website says for the Blu-ray Transcendence Grid, the Arcturian Blu-ray Healing Transmission as it applies to transcending limitations and struggle. It contains the truth that when we accept what was and allow it to transform us, we are resurrected. It is a particularly good vibration for anyone who struggles with the past, such as deep childhood wounds. It is also good for anyone who feels as if they cannot move beyond something to a higher place of healing. So I wanted to bring that up because I was hoping for exactly this, that this would be a reminder that this message is not just a message telling you, hey, you need to do this, but also helping you do this, as this vibration is very good at helping people transmute, let the ashes fall apart, let the old fall away. I've got the Spirit Song Tarot I've been shuffling in the background here. We've got our first card here, Two of Feathers, which is the Two of Swords. Keywords, decisions and direction. I can definitely see how decisions and choosing a direction would be key if there are past things that this group is dwelling on. The message I'm getting here is that the choice not to make a choice is also a choice. A lot of times when we're resisting letting something from the past go, letting something fall apart, there is this dynamic of waiting for a choice point to be forced by the universe, where we can feel that we're not completely happy and satisfied and fulfilled, or that something feels a little stuck, something feels a little wonky or off or wrong in our lives or some aspect of our lives. But we're resisting making a choice to change that, not realizing that by tolerating that stuckness, we are making a choice. By resisting making a choice, we are making a choice and it would be much more beneficial for us to either consciously choose to double down on what we already have going, consciously choose that, knowing why we're choosing that, what costs we are paying in order to maintain the things we like about the things that we are keeping going, or to choose to change. And sometimes there are many times in life, many situations where you can create incremental change, can take it a little bit easy on yourself and potentially on the other people in your life, and move slowly, or not even slowly, but small step by small step in the direction of the change that you're seeking. But with this pile, there is a big sense that there is some area of your life. For some of you, it might be multiple areas of your life, and for some of you, it might be a bigger or smaller area of your life. But there is some area or areas of your life where small steps are no longer going to cut it for you. You've been in a holding pattern with whatever it is you're resisting letting go of long enough now that there's some force in the river waiting for the dam to burst. And your spirit, your higher self, I was going to say your spirit guides and spirit as a whole, but truly what's coming through to me is your higher self is calling for a radical change. So it's also time, the Two of Swords also sometimes speaks to things that are hidden from our vision at this time, like a path ahead that we can't see yet. But what I'm getting from that dimension of this card in this context is two things. One, there are things that you are resisting looking at, and that is part of your resistance to making the choices and the changes that your spirit, your higher self is calling you. And what I'm hearing is crying out for you to make now. It's like your heart is crying out for you to make these changes. This may feel intimidating or scary, and there's reassurance that wants to come through that this actually doesn't have to be so scary. There are going to be moments of discomfort, of course, with making most changes in life, but this doesn't have to be so scary, because this is actually something that your heart needs, your being needs. And that can actually be a comfort to you. It can be like getting water or a meal at the end of a long day when you're dehydrated and hungry. You know, it can feel like that type of choice, that type of change, just deeply nourishing and self-loving. So there's a really strong call from your soul to reorient yourself in the direction of facing the things you're resisting looking at, and steering yourself in that direction by opening your eyes to how loving, comforting, wonderful this is. There are always, with that metaphor of the phoenix rising from the ashes, there are things to be burned away, but it's very different to, just as a silly metaphor. It's very different to literally burn a piece of cash in the air than it is to willingly exchange that cash for a meal. And when you actually open your eyes to what you've been depriving yourself of, these changes are not going to seem so scary. They're not going to seem so hard. It's going to feel like sliding downhill is actually the energy I'm receiving here. It's going to feel like sliding into home base, so effortless. And it's going to seem like, what was I holding on to all that for? That was taking so much effort. Why did I think it would be scarier or harder to let go? It's like that feeling of fatigue in the muscles from literally having held something up or gripped something tightly for so long. And it's like such a relief to allow them to relax and let go, that it feels like you are actually very close to a point where you really feel that relief. And it is just a matter of that reorientation and willingly choosing to open your eyes to what you've been keeping yourself forcibly in the dark about, what you've been refusing to look at about your current situation. That will make that happen. So if you're feeling a little lost, you may want to journal, whether that's typing or handwriting or audio journaling, where you just talk into a voice memo, or even if you're not recording it, speaking out loud. That can be like in the form of prayer to your spirit guides or to whatever higher power speaks to you, to your own higher self. Okay, that one actually lit up for me when I said higher self. So a conversation with your higher self would actually be very beneficial for a lot of you right now. And some of you might be going, what are you talking about? And some of you already know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, making the space for a conversation between the part of you that is confused about what's going on and what to do right now and how to change your life for the better, and the part of you that sees the ways that you've been making it harder for yourself than you need to. And that part of yourself, your heart, your higher self, your soul, all of the above, that is calling you to make those changes. So you can seek guidance from those parts and also air out your concerns to those parts the way a child would to a loving guardian, a loving teacher or parent or sibling. You can say, I am scared, and this is why I'm scared, and see what response these parts of yourself that have a higher wisdom or a more objective perspective, a more bird's eye view than your current self has had. See what those parts of you say about those fears. How do they soothe them? How do they address them? Or what do they say about the situation in general? Meditating with your future self might also be something that you find helpful for guidance on this. The same woman who paints these, Teal Swan, has a YouTube channel with a lot of spiritual and psychological teachings, and she actually has, from many years ago, a future self meditation on there that might be helpful for a lot of folks in this pile. So I would definitely recommend just searching YouTube for Teal Swan future self meditation if you are interested in that, if that kind of lights up for you and feels a resonance with you. The other meaning, now that I've gone down about 6 different rabbit holes on the first meaning I was getting from the aspect of the Two of Swords, that's about something being blocked from your vision. The second meaning I'm getting from that is that some of you are very focused on the aspect of your situation where you don't know yet what to build in the place of what's falling apart. And you're insisting that you cannot let what currently is not working for you fall apart until you know what's going to be in its place. And your higher self is coming through very clearly to say that that approach is not working for you in this situation, and it's not going to. What this situation is calling for from you is to allow the current situation to fall apart, leave that friendship or relationship, move out of that place, leave that workplace, abandon that old way of doing things. There's so many other ways this could apply besides those kind of different things. Abandon that morning routine that is feeling like drudgery to you. There are so many things. This way of eating, this way of doing the holidays, if you are someone who is participating in a lot of winter holiday festivities and you're feeling all this stress about like, I'm really not excited. Every Christmas or Hanukkah or whichever holiday you celebrate it's the same old patterns of stress with my family or loved ones, and I'm really not about it, and I feel like I just have to keep going along with it. Or it might be the way you go about doing your work. Maybe it's not your workplace or the type of work you're doing that feels dissatisfying and isn't working for you, but the structures of how you go about your day, the way you deal with deadlines, the way you maybe procrastinate and then do a bunch of work in a rush. This could apply to students as well. The way you, maybe on the other end of the spectrum from the procrastination issue, maybe you really rigidly plan your whole week and it's starting to wear on you, where you're like, this way of planning my day was soothing my anxiety for a long time, but now it's making me feel trapped and like I can never be spontaneous and I need to change something up. So there are a million other ways besides the examples I've given that this could apply, but whatever situation this is in your life, you are not going to know, and you're not meant to know exactly what's going to replace it, because you don't have that information yet. There is information that is going to emerge and unfold very organically and naturally from the process of you letting what is fall apart. And when you have that information, and when you're present with what it actually feels like and looks like when it falls apart, because frankly, you might think you know what that looks like, but you don't know yet because you haven't let it happen. There may be some aspects that you are completely right about, completely correct about that in your predictions of what it's going to be like, and other aspects that end up feeling and looking completely different when you actually do it. So how you feel, how the situation actually looks, how other people actually react instead of just what you've been assuming they'll do in response. And the information that gets revealed to you, whether it's about yourself, about your emotions, about your physical body and how its rhythms respond to the change, or about other people, or, a job offer. I've heard many stories from people who have been holding on to an old workplace for so long, and when they finally leave, someone else who left that workplace long before they did calls them up with a job offer when they hear they've left, because they remember what great work they did. Situations like this where new things will happen and new information about what has already happened will become so clear to you in ways you cannot. There's just simply no way for you to predict from where you're sitting right now. And it is time to allow the things you've been holding on to by a thread to disintegrate, and allow, as those flow away, the new tide of new feelings, circumstances, emotions, vibrations will flood in. So just like with this Transcendence card, you'll also be holding a completely different vibration yourself. Once you, for example, this could be about childhood wounds and patterns that you developed, core beliefs that you developed based on those. And when you actually lay to rest an old way of doing things that was based on feeling like you weren't good enough, and it was based on that, but you don't know how else to operate, so you haven't let go of it yet. When you actually start to say, I'm going to choose not to do it this way, not only is it then that new thoughts of, well, what choice could I make in this situation instead, are able to actually come to light in a way they wouldn't if you didn't actually consider that there were other alternatives when you were in that situation. But because you are drastically shifting your vibration, you become a match to different things in your reality. So different people, places, things, opportunities start to appear, that are a match and a reflection of your new vibration. And also, of course, a match to anything else that you're still resisting and still needing to let go of. But that's okay. That's part of the process. That's part of being human. That's part of being in a physical reality at all. That doesn't mean something has gone wrong. I know all too well how it can feel when sometimes it feels like, what do you mean more things have to fall apart? I've already let this area of my life, that area of my life, those relationships fall away. I've already burned those to dust. And you're telling me there's even more that's gotta go? And I don't think everyone in this pile is feeling that way. I think there's a lot stronger vibration in this pile of the rigidly, tightly, like keeping the fist closed around what is, around insisting that what is, insisting that the status quo is actually working for you, even though a huge part of you knows it's not. And that's a different vibration. But some of you may already be in this place, or may down the line think back to me saying this and remember and discover that you are in this place, just this moment of, it feels like everything's already fallen apart. How can you take more from me? Not that things are actually being taken from you necessarily, but that can be what it feels like, when it feels like I've left so much behind already. I've transformed so much already, and still more transformation is beckoning. It can feel like, wait, but I haven't been replenished yet from the last round of things being drained away. And those moments are part of the process too. And you will be replenished, and you do have power and tools to replenish yourself and your higher self, source, the universe, God, however you call upon your connection to that which is greater than yourself and to all that is. That connection is always wanting to flow back into you. So do not hesitate to call on that connection in whatever form speaks to you when you are feeling depleted and when you are feeling frightened and uncertain. Call on that for the replenishment, call on that for the nourishment, call on that for the strength to take the step that you know you need to take, but have been resisting or scared of. Whew. A lot of downloads just from 2 cards here. I'm learning from experience. I'm taking sips of tea while I talk so that I don't end up with a sore throat for the next 3 days just from talking for an hour. What else have we got? More Spirit Song Tarot. Okay. We've got the 8 of Acorns. Energy and results being the keywords here. 8 of Wands. I love this. I love this for you guys. I want to see what this particular guidebook says about this card. I love getting different deck writers' interpretations of the cards. And this is not going to be an exception. Okay. And this is an eel depicted on this card. Actually, let me see what is depicted on the 2 of Feathers while I'm at this as well before I forget. I love finding out the animals for this particular deck. So this is a gecko. That's what I thought, but I was worried that maybe it was actually supposed to be a larger lizard and I was getting it wrong. And I think we might come back to the 2 of Feathers guidebook description in a little bit, but I'm really wanting to read this one first, really being guided in that direction first. The elusive eel is a master of transformation. His surge of energy drives him to move in all directions and at great speed through the wild rivers of ingenuity. Highly observant, he quickly finds ways to adapt to new situations. When an opportunity presents itself, he strikes while the iron is hot. Things are starting to excel into action as you become fueled by the fertile fires of adrenaline. You've been making great strides. Eel will help charge you with energy as you move toward the fulfillment of your goal. Let enthusiasm lead the way as you make the most of opportunities. Keywords: energy, results, solutions, speed, activity, goals attained. As I often say on this channel, I cannot believe how well that aligns with what I was just channeling or downloading. And that's why I got so excited as soon as the 8 of Wands came out. I was like, oh my gosh, the 8 of Wands is a card of fast-moving, forward-moving, direct action energy, action-oriented energy. and that I cannot think of a better embodiment of the energy I was speaking to earlier about this. For this group at this moment in time in your life, radical change is being called for. The dam is ready to burst. Small incremental changes are not going to do it for you. This is not only embodying that energy, but it's also coming through to show you this. Again, this is not something to be scared of. It's completely understandable that you've been feeling fear, if you have been feeling resistance, feeling stuckness, reluctance, whatever other forces are emotionally entrenching your resistance. Completely valid. Completely normal reactions. But this is showing you that you are actually going to get results. You are actually going to experience results from this forward movement. It's like rapids on a river is the feeling that I'm getting, where you've been so focused on how scary it is to let your raft or your canoe, your kayak, what have you, traverse these rapids. You've been so scared of the bumps in the road and not allowing your boat to be rocked, not being the one who rocks the boat in a group situation, or so scared that you're gonna get hurt by the boat rocking you back and forth, that with that to a feathered's energy, you've completely blinded yourself, or maybe not completely, but in a very solid way, blinded yourself from that. Right on the other side of the rapids are results, are things you have been waiting for, looking for, searching for. There's several quotes out there about how everything you want is on the other side of fear. Everything you want is just outside the edge of your comfort zone. And with this, it really is just outside the edge. Like, there's a strong sense with this rapid moving energy. Maybe this has already been a long time coming, but at this moment in time, there are, and maybe other results will also in the future be a long time coming, but at this moment in time, there are specific results that are not going to be a long time coming, that are ready and waiting for you, and that you may actually miss if you pass up this opportunity to open your eyes and traverse these rapids right now. Especially with the guidebook saying, when an opportunity presents itself, the eel strikes while the iron is hot. As I was reading that, I started to get this image of how sometimes if you, let me backtrack what I was about to say. The example I'm about to give is a career-oriented example. Again, this could apply to a million other areas of life. But it's completely normal when you receive a new job offer to ask for a day or two to think about it before you get back to them about whether you'll accept the job. But if you keep them waiting for too long, an unprofessional amount of time, you may get back to them saying, yes, I'm so excited to start. And they might say, we already went with someone else. It's been 2 weeks. What are you talking about? We already gave someone else the contract, the position, the gig, whatever it might be. So if some of you are in a situation where there is a specific choice that you're struggling to make because there is something specific that is available to you right now, but you're scared to take the leap, I have never seen clearer guidance to take the leap and not miss out on this chance while you have it. Of course, listen to your own discernment, your own intuition, if there are multiple areas of your life that this applies to, and in one of them, your own true gut heart feelings when you meditate, when you soothe your nervous system and allow yourself to sink into them. Not just your fear chatter in your mind, but your true intuition is telling you that something is not for your best, then of course don't take that chance. But there is definitely some area of your life where it's time to take the leap if this is your pile. And the part in the eel description, the 8 of Acorns description about being a master of transformation, if you don't feel like a master of transformation, practice makes perfect. You have the opportunity to become one by practicing this right now. His surge of energy drives him to move in all directions and at great speed through the wild rivers of ingenuity. And he quickly finds ways to adapt to new situations because he's highly observant. Very much all speak to things I've already said in this reading about you need to wait and see how the situation unfolds and adapt accordingly. That's why you don't know what the new structure you're going to build in the place of the old looks like yet, or what the blueprints are yet. Yes, transformation does require the burning and the destruction of something old, but the new is ready to rush in from God, source, the universe. Just like this says, the surge of energy that the eel experience drives him forward in whichever directions he's called to. And through wild rivers, these rapids that you're scared of kind of knocking you about actually don't have the power to do that level of damage to you that you're scared of, with them drowning you, becoming like it's like you're scared of a riptide, but you're not in the ocean. Like a riptide can suck your feet out from under you and drown you, but you're on the rapids on a river and you're in a boat. And if you stay clenched up, that's what's going to cause your body to be damaged by the jostling of the boat. If you're able to stay grounded and firm, but also loose, and have a balance of the two and adapt to the situation accordingly, the jostling of the boat will not injure you. It might leave you shaken up. It almost certainly will leave you disoriented for a little bit, but that will be so fleeting compared to the lasting benefits, the lasting rewards of the transformation process. I hope that I'm doing justice to these metaphors that are flowing through, being downloaded into me, because they're quite powerful, quite potent, and if they are resonating for you, then I hope they give you the confirmation that Spirit is quite clearly demanding be passed on to you, that it is time. Go forth. Spirit is saying we're done with the Spirit Song Tarot for now. Let's see what else we've got. They're drawing me to the Energy Oracle cards. That's what that deck looks like. Shout out to my friend Stephanie for gifting me this deck. Sorry if you've heard me say that before, but I just love the love language of gifts and am so appreciative of awesome gifts. All right, Energy Oracle. Actually, I haven't even shuffled it for today yet. I've shuffled it last time I used it, which was just a couple days ago. But they're actually telling me to look at the bottom of the deck right away. And on the bottom of the deck, we have 6th chakra, so that's the throat chakra, Archangel Metatron. Archangel Metatron is known for being the voice of God, the mouthpiece of God. I think Metatron is in many ways what you might consider sort of a patron saint or guardian angel for anyone who channels Spirit or channels messages from Spirit or attempts to divine messages from Spirit in any way, the way that I do. Because in the lore of archangels, this is the angel who is closest to the voice of God in that sense, the most fluently and accurately able to pass through those messages from God, source, the universe, the connection to all that is, Spirit, however you want to call it. And this is number 40 in the deck, and I am feeling so many tingles just like the sparkles in this card image. I am dying to find out what this guidebook has to say about this card. Spirit, do you want me to draw any other cards from this deck first? No, we're going right to the guidebook. Okay. Number 40. I just heard the word honesty loud in my head. So this is, okay, with the throat chakra stuff, this is going back to have a conversation with your higher self, have a conversation with your heart, your soul, and stop lying to yourself, like was coming through in the Two of Feathers. That's coming through a lot more emphatically and a lot less gently right now. Not that the energy isn't gentle, but they're bluntly saying stop lying to yourself instead of using all the other phrases for that I was using before. So yeah, before I even actually get to the guidebook message, there's a strong message. The throat chakra is usually blocked by dishonesty. on the throat chakra, because of the power of your voice, has to do with not only your honest communication and expression, which is not really an only, that's a huge deal, but the authenticity powering your expression and communication allows you to speak your will into the world, and to do so in a way that is in alignment with yourself and with your connection to all that is, so that you are not in the way you use your voice, either allowing yourself to be trampled on by others or trampling over others. Your ability to steer your own life has a lot to do with your inner voice and the ways that that is shaped by your thoughts and beliefs and feelings. And it is hugely time, Spirit is saying, for this pile to get really honest with yourself about the thoughts behind the emotion, the experiences and beliefs behind the thoughts. Where is that all leading you back to? What is the origin of these river tributaries in terms of where did these beliefs that are running your life come from? And it's time to, with this card of total transformation, transform those beliefs at the root. The completion process method that Teal Swan, who I've spoken about already, has published in her book, The Completion Process, and also as an e-course, and originally a much simplified version of that in her video, How to Heal the Emotional Body, from many years ago on YouTube. It's still on YouTube as of at least a couple months ago. That was the last time I checked, because I love that video. The more elaborate process is well worth diving into. But when you're just starting out, a simple version that is free to access is pretty nice to have, and something that you can access anytime, access reminders about anytime just by going to YouTube is pretty cool. Again, I'm not marketing. I'm speaking from personal experience and from what Spirit is guiding me to share. And that process is 100% about changing the traumatic experiences, the distress that you experienced in your past that was not resolved at the time. It's about bringing resolution, that is, to those experiences, so that the root from which these thoughts, feelings, beliefs, emotions, and patterns in your life have sprung is then changed. You dive into that original experience that started the formation of all those rivers and tributaries, and you dive into, how can I rescue that past version of me from what happened to them? How can I bring resolve to this distress that whether it now seems large or small at the time simply was not resolved, and therefore has lingered with me and created all these patterns in my life. You are being hugely called to go to the root and transform there, and watch how that dominoes into the rest of your life, just like how we talked about watching the cascade of effects and experiencing the cascade of effects when you let the old structure fall down is necessary before you will understand how to respond to that. You don't know yet what the version of you on the other side is going to feel like, look like, be like. So you can't know what that version of you is going to want to build in its place. And to that version of you, it may actually be quite immediately obvious, or even if the long-term picture is not immediately obvious, what you just are dying to do, wanting to do in that moment will be very self-evident, very apparent in the wake of that transformation. And that will lead you to the next step and the next step, until you have blown your own mind by walking straight into this grand dream that you could not actually have planned or imagined for yourself. It can actually be better than you would have been capable of planning it to be from your limited current perspective. Whew. Okay, so that's funny. I opened this. Oh wow, two things are funny. One, I was talking about the throat chakra because of what I know about Metatron being the voice or the mouthpiece, but the sixth chakra is the third eye chakra, just as depicted here. And Spirit drew my attention to that as I was flipping through the guidebook to this card, showing me the card that comes before it, which is oriented to the 5th chakra, the throat chakra, and self-expression and speaking your truth. And I think I am feeling from Spirit that the way they showed that to me was confirmation that these messages about honesty and truth in the throat chakra did still need to come through, even though that was quote unquote a mistake on my part. It was a divinely guided mistake. But we were talking about getting clear before, and honesty with yourself does indeed have a lot to do with clarity of thought and feeling, and the third eye chakra has a lot to do with that. Seeing your reality clearly is 100% the territory of the third eye chakra, and that's what you've been called to do. So the keywords for this card are clarity of thought and personal vision. These themes are just blowing my mind with how the Two of Swords, the Two of Feathers has to do with things being blocked from your vision. I'm being told by Spirit now that we're gonna circle back to the guidebook messages about the Two of Feathers after this. So this guidebook for the Energy Oracle deck says, this very powerful Archangel Metatron brings brilliant indigo vibrations to your brow chakra, or third eye, which is the center devoted to insight and clear thought. When this card appears upright, it indicates a much greater clarity in your thought process and expanded perspective toward broader horizons. Some new perceptions are taking hold, and the clouds of confusion are clearing. In some ways, this could be a new beginning, for you're on your way to developing a deeper insight about what's going on in your life and why. Now is the time to focus on your personal vision. What do you want your life to look like in the years ahead? Create a clear picture of that and support it with your daily thoughts. The insight you need to create a vibrant life is available to you now. Your affirmation from this card is, my 6th chakra is open to its perfect, healthy state. My personal vision guides me and my thoughts are peaceful and clear. So this is a really encouraging message. This message about much greater clarity in your thought process and an expanded perspective being available to you right now, and some clouds clearing, some new perceptions already starting to take hold. That suggests to me that many of you were drawn to this pile because some perhaps stressors, like things that were disrupting your nervous system and keeping you in a kind of heightened fight or flight state for a while. Maybe you've had a lot of things, going on financially or family-wise, work-wise, where you were just kind of in this constant heightened state of stress. And those clouds have started to break, whether those examples are accurate to you or not. Those storms have started to clear, and it's allowing clearer, bigger picture thought to enter your mind now. And that breath of clarity is actually causing this sort of backlash or kickback from your subconscious of fear, of resistance, of, no, I'm going to cling tighter. I don't want to make that choice. I'm scared of what could happen if I did. All that stuff that we've already talked about in this reading. So this is a really encouraging message that you've already started. And that's at least for some of you. If some of you are feeling like, no, I haven't started already, I am very much still in that state of like keeping my eyes closed because I'm still scared to see. This is a message that everything that you need to see is actually already available to you. This is not going to be a struggle. Like I said before, this is going to feel like a slide down a hill. Like this said, the insight you need to create a vibrant life is available to you now. So it is just a matter, this is confirmation that it is just a matter of reorienting yourself to see, clearing the fog from your vision to look at those things, steering yourself to face those things is actually for your best interests. Reorienting yourself in your mind, in your alignment with your heart, to recognize this is actually not against me. This is not a threat to me to look at these truths that I haven't fully faced yet. This is actually powerfully for me, for my benefit. This is short-term discomfort to create much more long-term stability and comfort, to prevent much worse discomfort and pain and suffering down the line. And you know what? I can choose that willingly. I can choose that with my eyes open. I can choose that with an open heart. I don't have to feel like I am forcing myself and dragging my feet. I can actually let go of, this just came through, let go of judging myself. That's a huge thing that blocks the clarity of mind and blocks the third eye, as well as many, many other chakras, especially the heart. Especially the heart, and the theme of connecting to your heart's desires is a big one with this reading as well. Judging yourself is going to make it pretty hard to actually get at the reality of your thoughts and the reality of your heart. And so recognizing, you know what, it feels as though these judgments that I've adopted from external critical voices have been protecting me, but right now I can see they aren't. And I'm actually going to ask them to hold, please, while I take a non-judgmental look, take a non-judgmental gander at what is really going on in there, in the depths of my heart and my mind, my thoughts and my feelings, my memories, etc., my desires, my needs. I'm going to take a non-judgmental look at it. I'm going to take stock. And once I actually have that information, then I'll know how to act. I keep on trying to decide based on what I'm judging myself as what I should do. Trying to decide based on judgments. And you know what? Those judgments aren't, I don't even know if those judgments are based in reality, because they've gotten to the point where they're preventing me, like a layer of ice over a lake, from getting at their reality. And it's time to melt that ice, or let it break apart in the thaw of spring and put it aside and actually sink into the waters and go, okay, what's actually down here? What's actually swimming around down here? I've been scared to know. I've been thinking that if I ignored it, it would go away. But now I'm realizing I'm actually very ill-equipped to deal with my life if I don't know what's going on under the surface of it. And I would like to be able to accurately respond to my life so that I can do so effectively, and so that I can embody myself both effectively and authentically, and not feel like there's some great mismatch between how I'm living my life and what I feel like internally. Whew. Okay. We're going to go back to the Two of Swords guidebook page. And I can feel this reading starting to wind down now. There's this feeling, sometimes it comes on very suddenly, but with this one it's kind of slowly winding down as spirit starts to go, kind of dust off its hands and go, yeah, that's all the messages that we came to you with today. Two of Feathers, decisions and direction. Peaceful Gecko is adept at moving between the worlds of the subconscious and the conscious. Oh my god. The alignment of these messages is unreal, I swear to you guys. So we've been talking about making the unconscious origins of your current beliefs. Actually, I should backpedal that a little. We've been talking about making your unconscious thoughts, feelings, and beliefs conscious. And then taking a step even beyond that, where you make the origins of those thoughts, feelings, and belief conscious. And then that same adaptability that we were talking about with the eel is also coming up with the gecko, the willingness to become fully present and from there be attuned and responsive, rather than thinking that you need to figure out how to respond to a situation that you haven't even actually let yourself land in and assess yet. That's completely backwards, very common, completely normal if you've internalized that attitude, because it's a hugely perpetuated one in our society. But to be frank, it's bonkers. It makes no sense. Peaceful Gecko taps into into a balance of forces to clear the mind, bringing truth to light. Just like the Archangel Metatron card was saying, clearing the mind, bringing truth to light. Tapping into a balance of forces, so tapping into the greater, bigger picture of your connection to everything in the universe, and tapping into that which is within you, or within your heart and mind and soul. And tapping into a balance between activity and receptivity. Acting from a place of receptivity from which you have gained insight and awareness about what it is that you are reacting to. Gecko is accustomed to facing fears and is preparing herself to choose her next direction. Just like you folks, right? Just like you folks. If you aren't accustomed to facing your fears yet, believe it or not, it's something you can get accustomed to. You can practice it and get better at it. Courage is nothing more than the choice to lean into fear, the choice to lean into circumstances that involve some pain and discomfort for the sake of your deeper purpose that is driving you to do so, whether that's what you believe you'll get from it or some sort of value that you're upholding by doing it. But courage is not some character trait that you are either born with or born without. Every single moment that you practice making these decisions, choosing your next direction of facing fears, every single moment that you practice, you get better at courage. You get better at handling uncomfortable situations. You get better at making decisions without needing to be 100% ready and 100% certain, because those things don't exist in this life, 100% readiness and 100% certainty. These are things you can practice and get better at, and life is never going to be completely rid of discomfort, uncomfortable situations, but they're a lot less uncomfortable the more you practice, and especially the more you practice that willingness, because that resistance, that friction that comes from, oh my God, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be doing this, and really digging your heels into that mindset causes so much more pain and suffering than whatever it is that one is resisting tends to cause. Gecko reminds you that you have the power to unleash the energies needed to deliver a clear outcome. This being in conjunction with the Eight of Acorns is pretty incredible, because the Eight of Acorns was all about this energy is on fire and are ready to be released. These seeds are ready to give birth to new life, new trees, ready to germinate. They're just waiting for you to water them and shine the light on them instead of hiding them in the dark. I don't know that much about gardening, but actually I think that is something that people do in the spring when they're planting these seeds, is plant them first and then expose them to the light, and the warmth and the light cause the seeds to rapidly germinate. And there's no sense in keeping your seeds out of the light. Put your acorns now that you've planted them, in the light. Speak your truth and do not allow indecision to hold you back. So again, with the Two of Feathers aligning with the other cards on the table, the 6th chakra Archangel Metatron, speak your truth. Do not allow indecision to hold you back. And again, this next sentence also aligns with the Metatron Archangel. Open your eyes so that you may see your options more clearly. Seek solutions from within and have patience with yourself. There will be a knowing within your higher consciousness when it is time to act. So for some of you, your guidance going forward is as simple as make time to meditate. Make space for 5 minutes to simply take deep breaths. Even if you need to use one of those, and this is not even if there's nothing bad or wrong about this, if it helps you to use one of those apps that gives you something to focus on to time your breathing, then do that. But make space for your nervous system to be regulated and for your thoughts to be cleared, so that there is space for the higher consciousness wisdom to drop in. And please do consider having those conversations in writing or out loud with your higher self, with your spirit team if you're called to, with God if that's how you like to do it, if you like to pray. By all means, whatever works, but have those conversations with higher consciousness, whether it's your own, your spirit teams, or your higher powers. Keywords: decisions, choices, courage, truth, preparedness, and confidence. Yeah, there's preparedness in accepting that you cannot prepare in the way that you have been taught you are required to. Like I said before, it's bonkers that people think we are supposed to be able to have a response to a situation all figured out before the situation has even unfolded and we even know what's going to happen. There is a deep and true preparedness in practicing being really present with reality as it unfolds, so that you can respond immediately, so that you can adapt, as these cards keep saying, so that you can be present with the truth, as these cards keep saying. That is the only power that we really have. If we've reassured our fears by preparing, but then it turns out we prepared for completely the wrong situation, that doesn't turn out nearly as empowering as it turns out if you haven't logistically prepared anything at all, but you have been grounded and present, maybe meditating, maybe whatever it is that works for you to get into the present moment, get into flow with reality. If you're responding to reality immediately, if you've learned practices of relaxed vigilance so that you're able to respond to reality from a calm and alert state without being thrown off your equilibrium by every single surprise. Now, I'm not telling you to hold yourself to a standard of perfection. Of course, some surprises are going to shock you, throw you into a state of shock or fight or flight. But the more practice you have at that groundedness and presence in life in general, the more smoothly you'll be able to regulate when that happens, and the less easily it will happen. There will be certain surprises that you'll be able to weather and go, that really didn't rock my boat at all, actually. It did surprise me. I felt things about it, but it didn't prevent me from thinking clearly, from thinking on my feet, from responding effectively. I wasn't responding from a frazzled or compartmentalized, pressurized state. I was responding to pressure, not just with a veneer of calm, but with genuine, grounded calmness. And that's very different. Spirit is really and truly winding down the message here. Do we want to bring through any last cards, Spirit? Okay, they're calling me to bring through a few tea leaf oracle cards. I say a few. Sometimes I've said that in the past and it's turned out to be like 12 of them. Sometimes I've said that in the past and it has only turned out to be 3. So we'll see what Spirit has in store for us today. But we're going to get some closing messages from the tea leaf oracle deck. Thank you so much for being here, Group 1. This has been a really incredible reading, and I can definitely see why Spirit was calling me to be really authentic and present with however this reading unfolded at the beginning, instead of trying to make it polished and perfect. Okay, you're calling me to this section of the deck. Okay, they're telling me to take these 3. We have Wishbone, a wish is granted. Wind chimes, peace and harmony. And we have Wheel, indecisiveness, allowing your life to ramble aimlessly. Okay. So the Wheel card speaks for itself in the context of this reading. We've just been talking about the cons of being indecisive and thinking that it's possible to make no choice, and allowing your life to ramble on according to the status quo of how it already is, trying to maintain that status quo, trying to hold on when it's actually being pulled away from you by the universe. In conjunction with these other cards, though, the wind chimes and some of these other metaphors that we've gotten in the downloads of this reading, wind chimes are blown along by the winds of life. The eel and the boat that we were talking about in our metaphors before are buffeted by the currents and rocked along and directed somewhat by the currents. They respond actively to the currents. When you're steering a boat, you respond actively. The eel responds actively. And by responding to those currents and allowing them to move you instead of resisting them, you're able to create harmonious music like the wind chimes. You're able to respond in a way that is in alignment and in harmony with life, with the currents of source that are moving you, with the currents and rivers and rapids of change in life and in the universe, with the currents that move you within your own heart, the currents of your own desires and needs, and those of your loved ones. And you're able to create peace internally, harmonize your internal and external world by responding accurately to the realities of your internal and external world. So this is calling you to move from one energy of allowing yourself to be pushed and pulled through life into a very different one where you are, rather than being hunched up, trying to turn yourself into a wheel, curled up in a ball, and trying to keep things rolling along the way they quote unquote always have been, even though I guarantee you it hasn't been always. That's a very different energy than opening expansively to allow yourself without resistance to be moved. Oh my gosh, it's been a full hour. There's another song coming through. This is nice confirmation though, given that we were just talking about a harmonious song. And that means it's 4:00 here now. We had 40 on the Metatron card, and we had 2 and 8, so lots of 4 resonance in this reading. Thanks for bearing with me though. So, yes, you're moving from this energy of resisting reality and trying to coast along on the status quo as a result of that, as opposed to being in a non-resistance to reality and allowing yourself to be moved by the currents of life, but actively responding to them to produce peace and harmony, instead of refusing to face them. I hope that makes sense. I think I've explained it a few different times, a few different ways in this reading. So that's very much what I'm getting from these 2 cards. And with the Wishbone of Wishes Granted, that's giving this kind of sparkling confirmation of what we mentioned at the beginning, how with the 8 of Wands and the Transcendence card, there is very much something on the other side that you have been wishing for, seeking, wanting, and for some of you, you've been looking for it everywhere but outside your comfort zone, this place that you haven't wanted to look. You've been looking for it everywhere else, and you're finally at that moment of like, you know what? It's not there, it's here, and this thing I've been scared of is actually worth it, and you're about to discover how much less scary this thing is than you have been given to believe it was. And with that, Spirit has drawn a line under it and said that is the conclusion of this reading. So thank you so much for tuning in today, my wonderful pile ones. I'm so excited for you. A time of great transformation is clearly upon you, and although there is trepidation at the start, that's quickly going to give way to excitement as long as you get honest with yourself and allow clarity to emerge from that. Turn towards the truths that you have been reluctant to face, and you will be surprised by how much less harsh they are. Even if they feel harsh at first, you'll be surprised how quickly that dissipates into relief. Like, oh my gosh, it's such a relief to have that tension dissipate, the tension of just constantly expending energy subconsciously on pushing that down and turning away from it, even though it's popping up every way you turn. I'm going to keep turning away from it. I'm going to keep turning away from it. That costs so much energy. And recognizing that there's actually so much more comfort, so much deeper, truer, like rich, nourishing comfort, like a warm blanket and a hot cocoa. All that stuff is actually, in this case, in this scenario, just on the other side, in the process of stepping out of your comfort zone. The true soul comfort is not in the quote-unquote comfort zone. You're actually going to be so much more comfortable when you're no longer cramped inside that little confined space that you've gotten accustomed to. You're actually going to be so much more comfortable that you'll wonder why you were ever scared to expand like this, wonder why you ever thought it might be better to stay curled up in that small ball. So thank you so much for embarking on this journey, and I hope you have a wonderful week.